time and looked at the specifics of tax as it governs the Goods and Services Tax Act. For sure, we are not going to go into the detailed nitty-gritties, but we look at the big picture. First up, this act applies to the whole of India, applies to the length and breadth of India, applies from the state of Maharashtra to the state of West Bengal, applies from the state of Himachal Pradesh down to the state of Kerala. But it does not apply to Jammu and Kashmir. Our experts will tell you as to why it does not apply to J&K.
Once GST stabilizes in India, they might probably bring in Jammu Kashmir as well.
A second tax point on GST is that it applies to every product. It applies to every service, but it does not apply to alcohol. It does not apply to petroleum products. Alcohol, as you know, is a thin product. Petrol, as you know, is the one that helps us move from place to place. We'll ask our experts on whether or whether not these two products must suffer goods and services tax. The reason is about 40% of the central government revenue comes from petrol in the indirect taxes and 50% of the state government's revenue comes from petroleum products. The government of India, by bringing a GST, they're actually bringing a new law in the country. They don't want to put the petroleum products into the GST net and experiment the revenue what they are already getting. Where there is certainty with respect to collection of the revenue, they don't want to make it uncertain. The alcohol for human consumption is also kept away from GST. Many people ask why the alcohol is kept away from GST. For example, if you look at states like Tamil Nadu, the budget revenues are primarily drawn from the sale of alcohol. And accordingly, the alcohol for human consumption is kept away because it should not affect the state revenue. Currently, except for few states which practice prohibition, petroleum and alcohol are the major revenue systems for the states. So they have made a representation to the center, at least in the initial years, let the taxation of petroleum and alcohol products remain the states. And seeing the progress of the GST in terms of revenue mopping up, probably down the line both alcohol and petroleum can be covered under GST. We now slip into understanding as to what are the different tax rates. You know, under the service tax regime, which kicked off in India in 1994, every service is taxed at a single rate, 15% as it stands today. Is there going to be a single tax for all goods? Is there going to be a single tax for all services under the GST regime? The answer to that is no. There are 5 slabs for GST on goods and 5 slabs for GST on services. With each passing day, new slabs do get added. We're going to have a 0% rate, a 5% rate, a 12% rate, a 18% rate, and a 28% rate. A 0% rate is to tell the citizens of India, look boss, this product is subject to tax, but for the time being, we shall tax it at 0%. Should we at all have so many rates of tax? Could we not have sat with just one tax rate for goods and one tax rate for services? Let's hear to what our experts have to say on this subject.
So I will certainly classify the goods in such a manner that goods which are required, important, food, health related, they are kept at the lowest possible rate, which is there internationally, which is there everywhere. And those which are luxury goods, they are kept at the highest rate. Still, one rate across the country. This is only a beginning, and over a period of time, say next 5 years, the rates could stabilize to max 1 or 2 across products and across services. Singapore has just 7% tax rate, whether you're going to buy liquor or you're going to buy an electronic goods. So if find if it is much easier if you're just going to have one rate of tax, and that could be the GST really in the true sense of the term. But in our country, we are having more number of tax rates, varying products, and so on. This would more often than not lead to litigation. My own view is, eventually, for the scheme to succeed and for it to be a simple scheme, the number of rates should be as low as possible. The best scenario would be perhaps 2 rates, one for goods, one for services. That will be in its simplest form, which will lead to greater compliance. However, to get there from day one, I don't think it's going to be feasible, because we have to experience the impact of GST introduction, the impact on tax collection, the impact on compliance, the impact on businesses as to how they feel about this. And second, there is also a view that there are certain products that are consumed or that are considered as luxury products that are consumed by, let's say, high net worth individuals. So those should be taxed at a higher rate than all the other products that are used by everybody, including the common man. So if you look at these type of arguments that have been presented, eventually I think even if we have just 4 rates, 2, one for goods, another for services, and 2 categories, one that is applicable uniformly to all the people, and 2, a set of products and services that are consumed by the wealthy or above average people in the country, then that should be taxed at a higher rate. 4, in my view, would be an ideal situation. Again, to get to 4 instead of 2 from day one is going to be impossible. So I think at least I am reconciled to the fact that we will have to start with multiple rates to begin with the intention that going forward, eventually some of these rates will converge and we will have 4 rates, maybe in the next 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, etc.
Exports are exempt from GST. That is as it should be, for the simple reason that GST or VAT, as it is internationally called, is a destination-based tax, which means that it is a consuming state which has to pay the tax. In an export, the consuming state is outside India, and obviously the government of India cannot tax a consumer who lives outside India. When it comes to imports, internationally the practice has been to charge GST on import. People have felt that that is acceptable because those products are used in the manufacture of another product on which GST is payable, and the GST on import can be adjusted against the GST on the new goods manufactured under the principle of input tax credit. No such thing, however, applies to India. Indian government has decided that the duty that you pay on import will not be VATable.
Customs will not get into the GST portion of the billing because of the WTO considerations and various other considerations based on treaties extended between our country, our government and other governments of the world.
The reason why customs duty is kept away from GST is because if the customs duty is going to be subsumed under the GST, the rate of tax that is applicable to domestic manufactured goods will also apply to the products which will be imported. This will not boost the Make in India project brought in by our beloved Prime Minister to ensure that the Make in India is successful in India. The government of India decided to keep the customs duty away from the GST. Let's next look at the tax returns as applicable to the Goods and Services Tax Act. The GST law is widely perceived to be a document-heavy law. Is that true? Pre-GST, you needed to file a return once each quarter. Post-GST, you need to file 3 returns every month. That makes it about 36 returns a year. And if you had operations in more than one state, you will have to file those returns in each of those states. Is that all that very difficult to do?
It's view that many returns has to be filed by a registered person. It is not so. For example, for a registered person, he has to file monthly 3 returns: GSTR1, GSTR2 and GSTR3. GSTR1 deals with the supplies you make, and GSTR2 is the inward one, and GSTR3 is the consolidated one. One will be a manual one. You need to fill all these details. 2 and 3 is almost auto-populated. So if you take 3 returns per month, it will be 3 into 12, 36 returns. And if you have branches in 10 places, 10 states, it will be 360 returns. But you need not do all the 360 returns. Your effort will be taken only for the first return, that is GSTR1. Others will be auto-populated. Earlier, to file a VAT return or luxury tax return, you should be knowing that state's law, procedure, compliance and all other things. So a person should be well versed in other states' law and compliances. But now under GST, it has been simplified. So the one law applies for entire India, one nation, one tax. That's the concept behind this. So it will reduce the time taken by a professional for compliance and procedures.